Let's dive right in. The global health system, the one we all count on to keep us safe, it's at a breaking point. Seriously. The structures that have been built up for decades are facing this massive crisis, and it's pushing us towards a crossroads, with two totally different futures just hanging in the balance.
So that brings us to the big question, the one that's at the heart of this whole thing. What actually happens when the money that fuels our global fight against disease just starts to dry up? And look, this isn't some far-off what-if scenario. It's happening now. The numbers are here, and honestly, they're pretty staggering.
Okay, let's start with this number, 2,400. That's roughly how many jobs the World Health Organization, the WHO, the world's top health body, is on track to cut by the middle of 2026. To put that in perspective, we're talking about almost a quarter of its entire workforce gone.
And why? Well, that brings us to this number, $1 billion. That is the projected funding gap the WHO is staring down right now. For the organization that's supposed to be protecting the health of every single person on the planet, a shortfall that big, it's just crippling.
And it doesn't stop there, not by a long shot. The Global Fund, which is the main engine fighting AIDS, TB, and malaria, is now expecting a shortfall of $4 to $5 billion. Why? Because major donors are pulling back their funding. This puts decades, literally decades, of progress at serious risk.
So you see, these aren't just random, isolated numbers. They're all symptoms of a much, much bigger problem. They're showing us a global health system that is being pushed right to the absolute brink. And if you want to know what it feels like on the inside, this quote says it all. The word being used by a senior official inside the WHO to describe these cuts isn't strategic or efficient. The word is chaos. I mean, think about it. How can you possibly coordinate a response to the next global pandemic when your own house is in total chaos?
And this chart right here, it really zooms out to show the bigger picture. This isn't just about one or two organizations. A new report from Chatham House shows that the world's 17 largest donors are projected to slash annual aid by over $60 billion by 2026. That chart shows you exactly what that collapse looks like. It's a massive retreat of support that the world's most vulnerable people absolutely depend on.
So what on earth is driving this huge shift? Well, a big piece of the puzzle comes down to a new, pretty aggressive philosophy, especially from the world's single largest donor. You could call it the America First effect.
This quote from The Lancet really hits the nail on the head. The new strategy we're seeing from the US isn't just a small tweak. It's being described as a counter-revolution. The goal is to basically undo the collaborative, team-based approach that's defined global health for years and get back to what they're calling first principles.
And this right here really shows you what that looks like in practice. On the left, you've got the old model, the U.S. acting as a partner in these big multilateral systems where lots of countries work together. But on the right, you've got the new model. It's a shift to these one-on-one bilateral deals where other countries are treated less like partners and more like customers who have to prove their value directly to the U.S.
In the terms of these new deals, they're pretty stark. Countries are being offered, say, 5 years of limited health aid. But here's the catch. In exchange, they have to give the U.S. 25 years of access to all their data on dangerous pathogens. Some critics are calling this unprecedentedly extractive. It's basically an attempt to bypass the WHO and its central role. For a developing country, this is a tough choice. You get some short-term funding, but you might be giving up long-term control over your own health security.
But here's where the story takes a fascinating turn. This whole push toward these transactional, go-it-alone deals is creating a huge power vacuum. And as some of the traditional world powers pull back, a whole new center of gravity is emerging. Into that space, Africa is stepping up to take the lead.
And this is a massive deal. For the first time in history, the G20 summit, the meeting of the world's biggest economies, is being held on African soil, hosted by South Africa. This is way more than just symbolic. It signals a real, fundamental shift in the global balance of power. And the agenda they put forward tells you everything you need to know. South Africa has put 3 words front and center: solidarity, equality, and sustainability. And these aren't just nice-sounding buzzwords. They're a direct answer to a global system that for too long has left the global south feeling left behind.
And you can see just how serious they are on this slide.
We're talking about concrete proposals, like a brand new debt refinancing plan for low-income countries, a new international panel to tackle inequality, kind of like the one for climate change, and real demands for fairer climate financing and more oversight of those powerful credit rating agencies.
So it's becoming really clear, right? This is not just about hosting a fancy summit. This is a real, coordinated effort to fundamentally rewrite the rules that govern global health, finance, and the whole idea of development.
At the very heart of this is a powerful new vision from the Africa CDC. It's called Africa's Health, Security, and Sovereignty, and it's basically a roadmap for African nations to finance, produce, and govern their own health systems. It is a huge strategic shift, moving away from dependency and towards true ownership. And this new philosophy is driving real policy ideas. Take debt, for instance. The call is to build on the existing G20 framework with 4 key fixes. Make the whole process faster, make it fairer, make it more efficient, and, this is the big one, launch a whole new initiative that's focused on refinancing, not just kicking the can down the road on crippling debt.
So what's the end game here? Well, it's not about tearing the whole system down. It's actually about reforming it. The goal is to restore people's faith in the idea of working together, in multilateralism, by proving that it can be made to work for everyone, not just the most powerful countries. And that brings us right back to that crossroads I mentioned. What we're witnessing is a clash between 2 profoundly different visions for our future. It's presenting the entire world with a very clear and very urgent choice.
On one side, you've got the path of fragmentation. That's a world of competing, self-interested deals, a fractured and slow response to the next pandemic, an inequality that just gets deeper and deeper. But then there's the other path, a new kind of multilateralism, one that's reformed by new voices from the global south, focused on fairness, real debt relief, and the simple idea that nobody is safe until everybody is safe.
So that leaves us with the final question. The very architecture of global health is being redesigned as we speak. Is it going to unravel into a fragmented world of self-interest, or can it be rebuilt into a fairer, more resilient future for all of us? The answer is being written right now.